What's up, guys? I'm Olivia.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're driving and vibing.
This week we are on our way to Quartzsite and we have to prepare for it, so we're going to share some of our preparation tips with you today, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully we'll have lots of good info for you today. If it's your first time here, we would love for you to subscribe and join the Vibe Tribe.
So today we're going to share some of our tips to prepare with you, but we also reached out to the Escapers community, and some of those members are going to share their tips as well, and we'll get to those at the end of the video. But kind of just as far as an overview of what Quartzsite is for us, it's a week of social boondocking out in the desert.
Yeah, there is a giant RV show, and they kind of call it the big tent. It's a big white tent, and there's tons of RVs out back and a lot of products and RV related items available, and also another area where people will sell things they've made, vintage items. It's a big, cool, diverse group of people that converge every year in the desert.
Yeah, so we'll be meeting with the Escapers, but also going on at the same time is the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous and so many other types of convergences.
Countless groups.
So this hopefully will touch some of you people that are coming out to converge in the desert with us, and we'll go ahead and jump right into the list.
Yeah, and if you see us glance to the side occasionally, it's just because we kind of wrote down some bullet points so we don't forget anything. So that's what we're doing if you see us glance around every now and then.
So first up for us to prepare is stocking up on food, because it's not always fun shopping for food in Quartzsite.
Yeah, there's not many options available. The Roadrunner Market is pretty much the only one I know of that you can get fresh produce from, and it is always very busy and they run out of things quickly. So that means you'll have to drive to Blythe to do any substantial grocery shopping, but you can pick up a thing or two at the Roadrunner Market or at the dollar stores nearby.
And fortunately, we're heading to Quartzsite from Yuma, where there's tons of shopping, so we will stock up for about a week there, but we always have things we need to pick up while we're in Quartzsite. And like Olivia said, Blythe is usually our go-to, but if it's something small, we can pick it up in town.
Yeah, and if you need to refill like drinking water jugs, there's lots of those reverse osmosis stations in front of the grocery stores and dollar stores as well, so you can hit that on your trip there too.
And on that note, we'll go ahead and talk about filling up with fresh water, because that is something we like to do before we go to Quartzsite. Here in Yuma, we're right by a rest stop that has free water. That's what we'll do, but also there are some options in town.
Yeah, so if you need to dump tanks or refill your water, you can go to the RV pit stop, and I think it's a small fee, like maybe $5, a couple bucks, something like that, but almost all of the RV parks will charge you a small fee to let you fill up your tanks there and dump.
Yeah, Rose RV Park is the other one that sticks out to me. As I remember, they let people come in and fill up and dump with water. So multiple options, and really anywhere where you can get water, we would suggest doing that before getting to Quartzsite if you're not traveling too far, because it's never fun traveling with too much water weight.
So you might be wondering where you're going to throw your trash away while you're out boondocking in the desert or just camping in town. There is a public trash dump area at the La Paz transfer station, and the dumpsters there are open from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Sunday through Tuesday.
During that time, often our group will make group trash runs, which is very convenient. So if you're part of a group that does that, or if you want to lead that effort in a group, it's always greatly appreciated. But also a good option to consider when in Quartzsite or anytime when RVing is just using small grocery bags to collect your trash and trying to keep trash to a minimum.
Yeah, those dumpsters and recycling bins that they have there are awesome, but they fill up super quickly. So it's nice to be able to just have a small grocery bag full of trash at a time that you can drop at a gas station or any other small trash receptacle you see around that's not a giant household bag.
So next up is receiving mail. A lot of times when we're in Quartzsite, we'll be staying for a longer period of time and we'll have to receive some sort of mail while we're there, and it is always a pain in the neck because we can do general delivery in Quartzsite, but because there are so many full-time RVers that are in Quartzsite at that time, you can wait hours in line, and then they only have that line opened up for a few hours at a time each day, so you might have to come back the next day to receive your general delivery.
Yeah, so other than the post office, there is also a place called Quiet Times, and they will collect your mail for you for a small fee. It's a couple bucks. It depends on what type of packages or mail you're receiving.
Yeah, they do accept USPS, UPS, FedEx, a lot of options. We've had great success using Quiet Times, even though there is a fee associated with it. It's well worth the convenience of not having to wait in line.
And you still might have a little bit of a wait there, but it won't be near as bad as the post office.
So next up is showering when you're in the desert. part of boondocking is conserving water, so if you want to take a long hot shower while you're boondocking in Quartzsite, it's not really an option for most folks.
There is a laundromat in town that has showers available that are like $6 or something if I remember correctly. I don't remember the name of it, but it should be able to come up pretty easily if you just look up laundromats in Quartzsite. But there's also truck stop showers is another option. You guys might have seen our video about that recently, and if not, we'll link that above so you guys can check that out. The other problem with the truck stop showers is it's busy because a lot of people are going to be doing that too, and we don't want to be a burden on the truckers who really need those stops. So I would just check in, find out what the perfect time of day to go is when there's not really a line, and just hope for the best.
Yeah, but if you've never taken a truck stop shower before, don't be intimidated by it. It usually is a very nice experience, and we recommend them as long as they're not slamming busy.
And if you have big holding tanks and you don't have to dump very often, then you definitely can shower in your rig and just go to those dump stations and dump as needed.
So the last thing we like to do before getting to Quartzsite is mentally preparing ourselves for slow internet, because even though the signal might be strong, the towers are getting a lot of action and usually it's slowed down.
Yeah, the towers are way bogged down and it's just almost impossible to do anything. If you need a strong internet connection for work or whatever, then you probably need to stay a little further outside of town or have a booster nearby. You definitely go scout out the area and check for cell service.
If you do need internet and the cellular just is not working for you, the Quartzsite Public Library does offer free Wi-Fi. I'm sure it's still not that fast, but you might have better luck with that. But also we found driving into Blythe, if we were picking up groceries or something, there is a Starbucks there and we were able to upload some YouTube videos at that Starbucks. So it worked out well for us, but that is a drive that's involved with it.
Another thing to consider is if you're going to be boondocking when you're in Quartzsite, you should probably scout out the area before you take your rig down any of these roads. There's some really big washes out there. It's a very rocky environment. It could be really easy to get stuck or get a popped tire. If you have a group and someone can detach easily, or you have a way to go scout out on bikes or whatever, that's definitely a good idea beforehand.
And even if you're camping with a big group like Escapers or the RTR, it's good to scout out the area first because you can kind of get a sense of what's going to be best for you as far as social activities and kind of camping according to that, because there are so many people there. Yeah,
so if you want a little bit quieter spot on the outside of the group, that might be something where you can find a spot that suits your level of introvertedness or extrovertedness.
So let's go ahead and get to some of these comments from our fellow escapers and the tips that they provide. Let me grab the computer real quick and we'll read those out.
So Porter said, I do meal prep in the days leading up to boondocking, especially for Q. There are meals to be shared with friends, old and new, so I like to be ready. I'll have the Instapot and dehydrator going this week while I have full hookups.
I think that's a great idea.
That is a smart idea.
Yeah, one-pot meals, especially if you can pre-plan those ahead, definitely that'll save you in dishes and water, lots of...
Yeah, and if you can come up with like some snack ideas beforehand to have ready to pull out when people come over, like hummus or chips and dip and all that fun stuff, that's a great idea.
Jocelyn says, tires, tires, tires. Make sure your tires are good because Quartzsite is pretty rocky. I can't agree anymore. You know, make sure your tires are in good working order, but also if you are driving over some super rocky area, you can deflate the tires a little bit so they have a little more give and don't get punctured.
Next up we have Diana, and she said, don't plan to shop for groceries in Q. Blythe is the place to shop. And we totally agree.
Julie says, bring heavy-duty garbage bags so that it's easy to transport to the dumps. And I would say if your group is doing those group runs, heavy-duty bags will be much appreciated because other people will be hauling those bags in and out of the rig into the dump station.
And just for your own sake of having to take such a drive to get to there, and it's a little rocky, you don't know, with the bag rolling around in the back of the truck or whatever, it's great to make sure there's no leaks that happen. Next up, Scott said, bring propane for the faux fires and firewood.
Yeah, it's hard to find firewood in Quartzsite, so if you have a propane fire pit, definitely restock that propane jug. That's just what we did yesterday because we know we'll be using it a lot.
And tons of people have campfires, and it's always nice to bring some firewood to contribute.
Holly says, stock up on beer.
Yeah, so it's probably just as hard to find in town as food. Highly demanded item there. So yeah, definitely get all your drinks situated.
Especially if you want some good imported beer or liquor, I'm sure. It's best to get it outside of Quartzsite and bring it in.
Lastly, we have William, and he said it's very social. Be prepared to exercise your inner extrovert.
This is a very good point. We are both introverted folks. Even though we make these videos almost every day, whenever we're introduced to a big group of people, it's a little intimidating to us, and it takes some energy sometimes.
Yeah, it is so much fun, and we love being a part of the event in the group, but sometimes we do need a little downtime to just recharge our batteries so we can be as fun and exuberant as we always like to be.
And we learned this over time because our first trip in Quartzsite was extremely fun, but it was new to us. Then the second year, you know, it was just, we really have to balance ourselves so we don't wear ourselves thin.
You'll want to do everything. You'll want to be a part of every event and every get together, and it's really hard to really like dial it back and say, okay, maybe I'll stay in, you know, for an hour and I'll miss this one thing and I'll go see this other thing later on in the night.
So those are all of our tips and some of the escapers there for you. But let us know what your Quartzsite tips are, or let us know if you're going to be coming to Quartzsite in the next week or so.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. We look forward to hearing your tips and tricks for attending Quartzsite for the first time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Later on.